a mass murder. OpenAI insists it's not to blame because their system only provided factual information.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and all the rest that you're hanging out with us this morning. It is May 11th, and welcome to the May 11th, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our phone number for calling in. It's also our text line that you can text us and send us your thoughts, which we try to read on the air as we best possibly can. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis specifically, AM 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com, as well as follow me on all of the socials from X to Spoutable and everything in between. Just go to Choose Views or put that in the search bar and I'll pop up. My face or something will pop up and you go, oh, that's the dude. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, being legendary as she is, and the great Patty Vasquez driving it home. It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath and Out Chicago, as well as our other great shows and interviews that are part of our day-to-day broadcast. This is a place to get your good stuff. So what's happening over at Heartland Signal? Well, last week, as you guys know, we had a lot of things happening here in the Midwest with some of the elections that went down in Indiana, certainly Michigan, Pennsylvania. There were a lot that went on, and a couple of people that you want to pay attention to, and these are some things that you'll see at Heartland Signal. We've talked about this woman before. Her name is Stacey Garrity. She is running for governor in Pennsylvania. You want to stay aware of what she's saying and what she's not saying, who she's getting behind, and she's in lockstep with the national GOP, and she thinks that there's a lot of things that she says and I'm going to assume that she believes it, or take the position that she believes it, that are really butt backwards. And they are things that are not only designed to set back specifically women, other groups that have, or groups that have been marginalized, the LGBTQ community, certainly people of color, black folks and all the rest. She is not looking at moving things forward, trust me, unless it's going to be money in her pocket, and money is part of the GOP machine. They've tried to turn our government into a cash machine for GOP and GOP-only candidates. So pay attention to Stacey Garrity. Google her, and just be aware that she is definitely a drag on the system, and we can't have her as the governor of Pennsylvania. Another person to stay aware of in Indiana is the Indiana State Senate President Pro Tem, Roderick Bray. That's another person just to pay attention to. He actually, when I say it this way, pay attention to him because he's one that he voted against the gerrymandering in Indiana against Trump. He's a Republican, and he, caught the ire of that. But what I think is really the case there is that wasn't so much a win for Trump when it comes to, or win for the Republicans necessarily when it comes to some of the Republicans standing up and voting no against gerrymandering in Indiana. I think that was really the people that ended up winning those primaries are now aligned with Trump. So I think that's how the Democrats have to play this. The people that stood up, the people that stood up for stood up and voted against gerrymandering that are Republicans, they at least had enough conscience, Whitney, to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I could be down with some other things from our party, but that one I'm not down with. I believe that the people who decided to stay in alignment with Trump do that at their own peril, even in a state like Indiana. So there you go. But make your way over to Heartland Signal. There's a couple of the quick articles that are there that come to mind. There's many others. You guys want to check out what's going on there. Okay, on today's show, in the 6:30 hour, I'll be talking with Cliff Schecter. Cliff Schecter is a founder and partner of Blue Amp Media, Blue Amp Strategies. He's a best-selling author, columnist, political voice. You guys have heard him here on CPT. You've heard him on other progressive shows. And Cliff is the real deal. Haven't talked to Cliff in a while, but I'm looking forward to chatting with him this morning in the 6:30 hour. And then at 7 o'clock, Sarah Jones from the PoliticusUSA and the Daily Politicus with Sarah will be hanging out with us. And I know we're going to chop it up on a few things. We got to get Sarah on for an hour because she has so much great stuff to say. And then in the 7:30 hour, Rich Logis, founder of Leaving MAGA, will be with us along with his guest, Jennie Gage. So we'll be talking with him about what they're doing to bring more people from not only MAGA, but also from the Republican Party. And you'll see how we direct that conversation when those guys are on. So there you go. I hope everyone had a good Mother's Day weekend, however you celebrate it. My mom has not been with us for, 6 years now? 7 years. Great. She'd be 100 years old if she, on this, she'd be 100 years old right now if she were still with us. So great gal. I miss her, but I miss her in a positive way. I miss her because I think about the things that she taught me, that she exposed me to, that she protected me from, so I could stay focused and get stronger. See, my mother was real adept at protecting me from certain things so I could stay focused on other things to get really, really stronger as a child and growing. And that was kind of her secret sauce. She knew how to direct me away from the things that would probably not that they would be bad for me, but they wouldn't allow me to focus on the things that would be good for me. And she saw kind of it that way. My mom was a great, great gal. Born and raised in southern rural Mississippi, granddaughter of an enslaved family, enslaved ancestors. So, my great-greats were on both sides of the family, former enslaved Americans. But my mother always made it clear that you embrace both sides of that conversation. Don't let anybody ever tell you that it's not important to discuss enslavement. It's not important to discuss it. It's way back then and all that stuff, because my mother grew up with so much of, my mother grew up in Jim Crow. My mother grew up in Jim Crow. My mother grew up at a time when it was okay for a white man to put his hands on a black woman with no recourse. She grew up with that. She couldn't fight back against that without there being some physical harm to her. That's how my mother grew up. So when people want to say to a black person today, oh, guys, come on, and then fill in the blanks, I look at that and say, my mother didn't have that opportunity. My mother didn't have the opportunity to push back when someone did something that was disrespectful to her. So when I think about my mother, I got stories to tell you guys that would make you wet your pants, because she was hilarious. But she was a tough woman. When I say tough, I don't mean tough like on a given day, angry, you know. My mother was tough 24/7. I watched my mother go through, we had a terrible car accident in 1971 where both of my parents were hospitalized for about 14 days. And it taught me to really value life, because they were taken away on stretchers, head-on collision with another big Buick. Two Buicks hit each other. I mean, that's just like a lot of energy. My mother and father were taken away on stretchers, both unconscious and bleeding. And I didn't see them for a while. But my mother wanted me to come to the hospital so that I could see her in the condition she was in, and I would understand that and not be afraid of that. My mother, I remember when she had her hysterectomy, and I remember her saying, I want him to see me. She got up on crutches. And this is back in the day when you had a hysterectomy in the early to mid 70s. It's different than it is today. Trust me, ladies. I know this from what my mother told me, not from my own, make that stuff up. But she, I'll never forget her getting up on crutches to walk down the hall so I could see her in that state, so I wouldn't be shied away or protected from that, or prevented from understanding that was a reality. And then my other medical situation with my mother was when she was diagnosed with a condition known as phlebitis, 2 weeks right after Richard Nixon was. It's a blood clot that in the blink of an eye can go to the heart, and the person could be lights out. Look up Richard Nixon and phlebitis. He had it as well. So all these things that my mother taught me about not being afraid to see things that would be painful gave me a lot of strength for this life that she knew I would have to live as a dude in this country with the brown costume on. So I honor her in terms of the positivity. I don't miss her out of sadness or sorrow. She lived 93 years. It would be selfish of me to oh, Mom, I miss her, but I don't miss her because of the gone part. I miss all the fun and the craziness and the silliness. My mother was a badass driver too. She had a blue Chevy station wagon and a heavy foot. I mean, a heavy foot. So she was good that way too, and could cook her tail off. She was a great cook. She was a great mentor for a lot of folks in the neighborhood. She was always taking people in, Mike. She was always bringing, making sure kids that I went to school with, if they seemed to be disconnected from their parents, because my mother would show up at the school, out of the blue. She'd take the day off from work and show up, and she'd sit in class, Whitney. She would sit in class and dare the teachers to ask her to leave. She would dare them too. So my mother was that mom, that mom for a lot of the kids in the community, and she was also that person that took in some folks who had fallen on hard times, adults that were struggling and trying to make it in the 70s during some of the worst economic times that we saw at that time. Fast forward, I meet this woman and I get married. I meet this woman and, going down the path of getting married, and I get to meet my wife's mother, who was in many ways just a lighter skinned version of my mom. Same kind of ethics. She was a little bit younger than my mother, but she was that same kind of strong woman, and grew up in the Depression. I think she's 10 years younger than my mom, or whatever. But that being said, my wife's mom, same kind of stuff. Strong lady, raised a great family, 7 children, and just, tough women. And so what that taught me was how to be a good man. I learned how to be a good man from both my mother and my father. But that's what we guys have to remember when we think about our moms, if our moms are not with us any longer. Think about the lessons that they taught you, and think about the things that they shared with you about being a strong guy. And I say that from a guy's perspective because I can't say it from a woman's perspective. I can only speak from what I know. But my mom was great. And my mother-in-law, both of them have passed away. Two great women, and I'm blessed to have had them in my life. And there's so many other moms. We got one sitting across from me at the board here. So we have to give our shout out to Whitney and all of the younger moms who learned from the older moms. So I hope you guys had a great Mother's Day weekend. I hope you guys were able to honor those women who have been either a mom to you, a big sister to you, an auntie to you, or a mother figure to you. And I'll share with you one little lesson, and we'll hit a break, that my aunt taught me years ago. And you guys may have heard me say this before, so I might be repeating myself, but it's a good thing. Honor folks day to day. Let folks know you care about them day to day. Don't wait for the holiday to honor that person. 365, 24/7. Honor the people that are around you every single day. Make that kind of one of your points in life, is to honor the people that you care about by letting them know that you care about them while they're here. And don't wait for the holiday. Don't wait for the celebrated day to do that. I think that's one of the things that makes us whole, is that we recognize the people that we care about while we see them. So let's take a quick break, you guys. I know we went over a little bit, but I wanted to get that message out to everyone anywhere in the country. 773-763-9278 is our number. You're listening to Choose Use on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
News. In 2026, women's entrepreneurship is surging. Driven by a desire for flexibility and accelerated by AI and digital tools, women are increasingly leading in e-commerce, wellness, and service-based sectors, with a major trend towards solo, high-impact, and home-based businesses designed for a work-life balance. Women entrepreneurs are heavily utilizing AI and e-commerce tools to streamline operations and reduce cost. 68% of women entrepreneurs have cited a work-life balance as a primary motivator to becoming a business owner, driving the demand for virtual assistants, digital marketing, consulting, and online coaches. Now, despite the growth, there is a push for better banking support and policy, with a focus on addressing the $3 trillion opportunity for women and minority-owned business acquisitions. WCPT 820 listeners, I'm Whitney Rydell, and this has been your Girls News.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
We got out of Washington State, and I think a week after, state went on lockdown for COVID.
So then when we transitioned to Texas, it was very much so like, what are we going to do now?
Operation Homefront has allowed our family to make something of ourselves again in the world after the military.
It's completely changed the way our life is. It took us from a hopeless situation, and now we're homeowners. We have a savings account. I'm the first one to own a home out of my siblings.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Mic's on, truth's out. This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Some great comments from you guys in terms of some texts that you've sent already this morning, and some funny ones. One of them is from our good friend Jill up in Evanston. My road trip motto: if you go 120 miles an hour, you get there in half the time. Assuming you don't get stopped, Jill, by the popo, and then you got to go sit in the pokey. and take up your time of driving, but I get your point. Got a heavy foot. It sounds like Jill has a heavy foot, guys. All right, couple quick Choose Views news items on this May 11th, 2026. Forget tiger moms. Beta mothers are having a moment. A new wave of mothers dubbed the beta moms are challenging traditional parenting norms by allowing children more personal freedom and prioritizing mental health, according to the Wall Street Journal. The shift towards gentler parenting comes in response to a decade of intense, quote, tiger moms and helicopter parenting. Many moms are also openly discussing their struggles and embracing imperfection, recognizing that overbearing control can lead to both parental and child burnout. The trend reflects a broader cultural change in how parenting is approached, emphasizing balance and well-being. And I get that. I completely understand that. The great wealth transfer is coming, but slower than many had anticipated. Economists are anticipating a great wealth transfer that will see $110 trillion flow from boomers to the millennial heirs. The reality is more of a slow trickle, and I predicted this as well as an financial advisor. The richest Americans are living longer, FYI, and pouring money into a growing longevity industry. At the same time, they're doling out their wealth to their children in the form of a down payment assistance, tuition, and family vacations, rather than a one-time inheritance. And just as an FYI, even at the end of life, assets pass to a spouse before reaching the next generation in most cases. I've been saying for a long time that because people are living longer, that the distribution of wealth in terms of assets passing on to the next generation, it's going to be a little bit longer period of time because people just are living longer. The other reason is I'm of the mindset, do things to help now rather than some big bucket of money when you die at 90, where you could have helped your family and your friends and your groups along the way. But anyhow, rising gas prices strain supercomputers across the commuters, I should say, across the USA. It's probably going to strain computers at some point too. Supercommuters who travel at least 90 minutes to and from work are getting squeezed harder as gas prices keep rising, according to the Wall Street Journal. Many have been forced to adjust their budgets, cutting back on leisure activities and essentials, and the financial burden on lower income houses is particularly severe. The trend of longer commutes grew during COVID-19 and the pandemic as workers sought affordable housing outside of big cities. While some employers are allowing remote work again, those with in-office mandates are feeling commuting's invisible pay cut more acutely. And this one was a little sad story, but disappointing story is a better word. Stanley Black & Decker is closing its last hometown factory. The era is coming to a close of the Stanley Black & Decker brand. It's shuttering its remaining hometown factory in New Britain, Connecticut on May 18th. The shutdown of the plant takes with it 300 jobs and brings the company's production of the single-side tape measure to an end. Stanley Black & Decker tools, without exaggeration, helped build America over the past 2 centuries. The tool maker is now shifting production to Thailand, where it can make double-side tape measures to align with consumer demand. Still, 300 jobs and an economy that's going to be impacted by that. And U.S. cities have a $1 trillion infrastructure problem. American cities are sitting on a hidden infrastructure crisis. In a new study of 2,000 cities, municipal research expert Richard Cicerone calculated how worn down each city's roads, bridges, and buildings are, finding that the cumulative wear and tear on urban infrastructure totals just over $1 trillion. Older cities like Philadelphia and Baltimore face the steepest repair bills, while newer Sunbelt cities fared a little bit better. Experts warn the hidden costs could eventually force cities to raise taxes or cut services, while continued delays could lead to dangerous failures. Either way, it's not good. So my commentary on this last piece kind of ties into this conversation around the war in Iran. And, I'm running out a little bit of time because we got to get to break and get Cliff on. But I'll just say this, and you guys have heard me do this math, not loosely, but, as simply as I can. $25 billion will go a long way to help a lot of things in a lot of cities. I've done simple math and said, take, the top 20 cities in the country and divide that into 25, and you've got a certain amount of money that goes to each of those cities for education, for helping homelessness, infrastructure, and the list goes on. But that's where you got, when we have a fool in the White House and a foolish administration and cabinet and GOP of elected officials, we don't get those things done. That money's, it's not, again, when we want to get something done in this country, we get it done. We do it. But we've got all these hurdles that the Republican Party specifically is putting in front of us getting things done. I have my challenges with the Democratic Party and certain things, but as I said last week, a dozen times probably, the critique is about helping us get stronger. It's about helping us strengthen as a Democratic Party. It's the Republicans that are at the tip of the spear of causing this carnage and this craziness. And something like that, an investment in our cities versus an investment in a war, it's not even an investment. It's a waste. It's wasteful action, spending of resources when we've got cities that are crumbling. But who's in the White House? Who's the head of the Senate? Who's the head of the House? It's not the Democrats. It's the Republicans. And on the state legislative level, where the Republicans are in the control, that's on you guys. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Also, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and when we come back, we'll be talking with our good friend, Cliff Schecter. We'll be right back.
Life is full of balance, but if you are one of the millions of people affected by dizziness, vertigo, and imbalance, finding your footing isn't as easy as it seems. These conditions disrupt daily life and rob people of their independence. They are often misdiagnosed by healthcare providers, and some people are told that their symptoms are all in their head or that they are just due to stress. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Do you often feel dizzy and foggy-headed? Do you reach out for the wall to keep yourself from falling over? Do you experience a constant ringing in your ears? If you answered yes, you might have a problem with your inner ear. But there's hope. Visit liferebalanced.org or call 800-837-8428 to learn how you can get better. Again, that's 800-837-8428. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
Are you excited about being a new grandmother?
Of course I am. A little intimidated, too.
Why?
Taking care of a baby today is so different than when I had you.
But, Mom, you did great with me.
Thanks, son. But I put you on your stomach to sleep.
Right. But now we know that babies should always be placed on their backs to sleep, for naps and at night, to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
You also slept with blankets and toys in your crib.
True. But now we know to keep everything out of the crib except for my sweet baby girl. No blankets, pillows, or other soft or loose items.
Daddy's going to teach Nana all the ways to keep you safe while you sleep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
For more tips on safe sleep for babies, visit safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. That's safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming mostly sunny with high temperatures climbing into the lower 60s. Winds out of the north and northeast at 10 to 15. For tonight, mostly clear, a low of 41. Warming to the mid-70s for highs on Tuesday, a slight chance for some late-day showers. Wednesday, breezy but cooler once again, will ease back to a high of 63. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 46.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Want to get in our quick question of the day before we get to Cliff. With the tearing down of the voting rights legislation and protections in America, what are you doing to stand in the void to fight this killing of our democracy? I want to know what you guys are doing. We know what's happening, but with the tearing down of the voting rights legislation and protections in America, what are you doing or going to do to stand in the void to fight this killing of our democracy? That's our question of the day. You can send me your thoughts and answers to by texting us. You can call or go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. Either way, kind of want to know what you think there. I'll read the question again when we get to the top of the hour. But right now, co-founder, partner, Blue Amp Strategies and Media, a dude that's been out here as a political advisor and commentator for a while. He's a best-selling author. I mean, he's done all that stuff. Who am I talking about? Talking about our good friend, Cliff Schecter. Good morning, Cliff, and welcome back to Choose Views.
Hey, man, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. I should say welcome back to WCPT because I think this is the first time you've actually been on my show, even though you and I have done stuff when I've sat in for Joan in the past. So
yeah, originally we've sent some emails back and forth. Yeah, I did come in, I think, when you subbed in, but this is my first time on. So I kind of feel like, I should ring a bell or do something. No, seriously, I'm a fan. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours, and you're awesome, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, diving into the deep end of the pool, Ohio has some crazy stuff going on right now.
We always do.
Wow.
We define ourselves by crazy, I think, these days.
Vivek Ramaswamy is the Republican nominee, but Dr. Acton is letting him know that this isn't going to be as easy as he might think his $1 billion can throw at and make it easy. What are you seeing there on the ground? What are your takes from people that you're talking to? Because I know you're talking to a lot of folks about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I would have told you, look, it's become Ohio used to be the bellwether state, as we know, but the population is a little bit older than the average. It's a little bit has a little bit of a lower education level. We don't have as many Latino voters, and so it isn't really sort of that state anymore. It's a state that is more susceptible to right wing, particularly the kind of populism that Trump used, and really, it was populism. It was all lies, of course, because it's Donald Trump, and he lies like he breathes. But all his fake stuff on what he was going to do to help people with trade instead of being the taco that he is, and everything he was going to do to bring back jobs. So to bring that back to Ramaswamy, that has put Democrats, because so many people bought into it initially, what Trump said, that it moved the state to the right, certainly the gerrymandering that they've illegally done against the rules of our Supreme Court, because, again, Republicans don't listen to nor respect democracy anywhere, nationally or locally, has made it tougher. The fact that the Republican Secretary of State suppresses black votes routinely so that we have to win, any vote time we go out, we get 1 or 2% less, maybe 3% than we would have gotten had everybody been able to vote. You start off fighting against all of that. But this election, is such that obviously, first of all, the wave is real, and it's been happening here too. Donald Trump has literally, done the Orban plan for just much quicker for alienating pretty much everybody, because when you suck at pretty much everything, I can put that in more technical terms, but
why do that?
You destroy the economy. You've done everything. I'll just answer you quickly because I'm taking too long here.
No, you're
if
not.
they picked sort of a garden variety Republican, they would have a very good chance of holding on to that to the governor's mansion. Instead, they picked basically like a mini Trump.
Yeah.
And Ramaswamy. They picked this guy that made his money through a pump and dump scandal. His mom, seriously, signed off. He was a doctor on his Alzheimer drug and told everybody it was going to work. Of course, it's garbage. So he got all these people to invest, and they lost their money, but he made a ton.
Yep.
He's hated for that. He's hated for the fact that he's kind of a schmuck and nobody likes him personally, but that's a normal MAGA thing. And then you add in, just because he ran nationally and he's so tied to Donald Trump, the fact is that it's not some garden variety. Like it could be a referendum on him and not necessarily on Amy Acton, because people know who he is and don't like him. So he's made it so much easier and given us a so much better chance at winning back that governor's mansion. And so I actually, a friend of mine, David Pepper, is on the ticket as lieutenant governor, or running for lieutenant governor. I think he's a former chair of the party, and he's run for attorney general before and other things. I think we have a great chance there. And I mean, I don't know if you just saw, but his very right wing, like, I don't know what you call it anymore, uber fascist. Is there something more to the right than fascist? Because whatever that is, this guy is, just endorsed Amy Acton over him, the guy that lost to him in the primary, because the guy is like, Vivek's a fake, and I may think that, I may think Amy Acton's positions are garbage, but I'd rather have garbage than a fraud. So there you go.
Well, listen, one of the things that last week was a big part of my conversation with folks was how to, making sure that we are identifying what our shortcomings are as Democrats, that we recognize where we've got some work to do. I think that I think it's bad business to not recognize where we've got some things to work on, but we don't have to do that to the point where we're cutting down to the muscle. We have to do it in a way that's prudent and says, okay, we recognize these things. And something as simple as listening to the voters. I mean, that's one thing that it's a criticism that's come at us that we haven't listened.
Communicating with them effectively, I would say.
What's that?
I would say on top of that, which is related to listening to them, communicating with them effectively so they know exactly what we're going to do, which we're very bad sometimes at putting into a simple message.
Yeah, and so I think we've learned some lessons, but I'm also of the mindset that we should spend the majority of our time going after the Republicans because, like I said before the break, Cliff, the House, the Senate, the White House, 6 of the Supreme Court, a number of state legislatures are run by Republicans. They are the ones that are causing the harm. We can spend a little bit of our time saying, okay, guys, we got to shore this up. We got to tighten up the D over here. We're getting killed on the weak side, just to use some basketball analogies. But at the same time, let's keep putting it to them. And I think what we have to do right now is keep putting it to the Republican Party and bringing out the fact that you guys you got a bunch of weak candidates. I'm waiting for a strong Republican candidate to run for something anywhere on any level. It's not happening. It's just not happening. And whether it be on a state level, on a local level, a state or a federal level, there's no strong Republican candidates. There aren't any Republican candidates that are actually pushing forward legislation, Cliff, that is right for the majority of people, the larger numbers of people. And we've got to we have to keep reminding ourselves, as well as our constituents across the country, that we have better ideas. And when we're in charge and they get implemented, everybody benefits. Folks on the right, folks in the middle, folks on the left. And that's historically been the case. We can go all the way back to FDR, and that's been the case. That we've always performed when we've had the ability to have our hands on the levers and make sure that the decisions that are made are the best for as many people as possible. And this gerrymandering that's going on is a direct attack on further removing us from that reality. Talk a little bit about that.
Go ahead, sorry. Well, so a couple points based on what you said. First of all, you can use all the basketball analogies you want. I grew up in New York, and I'm a Knicks fan. And finally, after your team tortured my team throughout the 90s, and everything, it looks like in Brunson we finally have somebody who hits that last second shot. So for once, basketball may not be a sore subject with an original New Yorker. But to get back to the politics of the situation, there's a few things going on here. One, I don't get it. I bet you don't get it, and most of your listeners don't get it. But Trump has this weird charisma that is cult-like on the right because I think he makes offhand jokes in between all of the racism, the stupidity, and the whatever. And I think it's on about a third grade level, but they find it funny. I don't really understand it, but they find him charming and funny and whatever. There's nobody else like that who even has a personality. I mean, when you're talking about, I don't see anybody running, the only way they can win is if they have someone like Trump who's a con man. Because, again, look at all their policies. I mean, at this point, they're not just on the wrong side of like 55, 45. You know, universal background checks polls at 90%. Like family and medical leave polls at about 87%. And we can go through all of these issues from abortion rights to an assault weapons ban. They're all like 65% plus. They're way on the wrong side of everything. So you start off with that, and they have to somehow fool people because they're never running on issues that actually help anybody, except for a couple billionaires, you know, billionaire predators that show up all over the Epstein list. And so, and themselves, of course. So, so in the end, and that's just a fact. I mean, I can use it as a pejorative too, but it's a fact. So, you know, what are they doing? So they need to run on these fake, you know, made-up issues that affect virtually nobody or nobody. And the only people generally who can pull it off, well, you know, Donald Trump's somebody who's been able to pull it off. Who's going to – I mean, Elon Musk has AI for a personality. Marco Rubio is like, you know, can't drink a glass of water without his hand shaking. I mean, you know, like who are they going to – Josh Hawley, the guy that runs away like a wimp.
And Vance and Cliff, I mean, J.D. Vance is not the one either. I mean, he's just not.
You can't order donuts without coming off as somebody who you like.
And he can't. And then did you see the speech that he gave last week where he couldn't pronounce the name correctly of the and I thought about that and I was like, we've all been in front of a camera or in front of a microphone and we couldn't get something out quite right. But you're the vice president of the United States, and you made everybody feel like you're the best thing since sliced bread with some nice warm butter and honey on it, and you're not. So he's not the dude either.
No,
and I don't see.
I don't even put honey and him in the same sentence, man. He's like some putrid old milk that RFK would have people drink. It's like raw and 8 months old, and I mean, he was going door to door, knocking on doors, trying to get people to answer in Greenland. They're all slamming the door in his face. He gets booed away from ski vacations in Vermont. He lives a mile from me here. Thankfully, I've only run into the guy once, and he's just the most unlikable. Of everybody I said before, maybe Ted Cruz is as unlikable. I hadn't gotten to him yet, but Vance has got to be one of the most unlikable characters. He has no sense of humor. He's awkward and dorky, and you know, people don't trust anything he says because they shouldn't. He called somebody America's Hitler, Donald Trump, and then decided to become his vice president. I mean, you know, he just is off.
His knee pads must really, really be functioning well right now. Cliff, my man, we're going to take a quick little break and we'll be right back. So you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Cliff Schecter, and we will be right back.
After serving in the military, life can seem like an endless loop. But the cycle can be broken. You're not alone. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and you're listening to, and I'm Richard Chew. He wrote ads for Biden in 2020. He's the author of the best-selling book, The Real McCain, and founded Blue Amp Media. Cliff Schecter is with us this morning. My man, Cliff, you were saying earlier, the question that you kind of put out there, or you used the phrase about sort of this weird charisma that Trump has that no one else in the Republican Party has actually ever had, that we in our lifetime, and certainly probably won't in a while. And I think a lot of it tapped into the deficiencies of a lot of people. They were looking for somebody that could fill their void of what they maybe didn't have. This sort of that pick me, I want to be like him. He represents a lot of the things that like a lot of the guys, you know this, guys that you grew up with that they hung out with the bully because they themselves were weak. You know those guys. You know who I'm talking about. And so that's his draw. He's the bully that everybody wants to hang out with. No substance, no value, because the minute somebody comes up and punches and knocks the bully out, his boys or girls don't protect the bully. They scatter. And that's what's going to happen coming forward. And Joe Biden was asked the question, why is Donald Trump so obsessed with you? And Joe Biden's answer was as clear as a bell. He said, because I beat him. Y'all remember that? Remember that clip? I beat him.
It couldn't be more correct.
And that's that he punched the bully in the face, and everybody was like, well, damn, I'm running away from this fool. Unfortunately, and this is my pivot, the corporate media and all the rest of the sycophants did not do that. And so Donald Trump remained in the conversation during Biden's entire term. And because of that, we ended up getting this fool. I mean, not just because of that, but partly because of that. We ended up getting this fool again because guess what? All of those bully acolytes still hung out with him because they still needed somebody to fill that void in their personalities. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, look, and I'm going to be on. Let's have an honest talk here. Trump was able to tap into something. I think the third. I don't know how many times has he run? 14 at this point. The last time, where he even won over a much larger share of Latino men. He won over a larger share of Asian men, even a very slight larger share of black men. But we're talking, for the most part, about white men who feel disempowered, particularly in places like the Midwest, which is why he
And Cliff, did you know that his numbers with white women went up 3 percentage points? That one kind of blew me away. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I mean, that was unbelievable to me, but I think it comes from the same thing that whereas white women have somebody here, some do have some of the same qualities of where they felt like they've been in control. Well, white folks in general do, but also men do, and felt like they were in power, and suddenly with certain jobs left, and they were told, yeah, you shouldn't actually sexually harass people. Yeah, you shouldn't actually call people names because of their race. I mean, I am an advocate of that there are Democrats on the left that get way too uptight about language, and that we should talk to people like normal people, which we don't enough. And we poll test too much, and we do it, and that is all very true, and that would be part of my prescription for how Democrats just be authentic, talk like a normal person. But part of that was true, which is, yeah, we did some horrible things in the past to various people, and so these guys don't want to be told you shouldn't be a bully anymore. Maybe there should be an equal playing. And, yeah, the job left your town, and that's thing. But you know what? You probably voted for the person that shipped your job to China.
Thank you.
Right. And the Great Migration, well, you know what? There are a whole lot of black folks that had, as you know, who had to leave the South and move to the North and completely go somewhere else to find a job because they couldn't even, the jobs weren't available to them in the South. And even in the North, they were discriminated against in cities in all sorts of ways. So you know what? You may have to leave your small town and go somewhere if you're white and find a job. You don't just get to graduate from high school anymore and go work in the factory there for 40 years, get your watch and get all your great pension and all that. And you probably voted to end that. So that, I think, Trump tapped into in a very effective way. And again, he does have a sense of humor. Like, if he weren't so horrific in every way, he might even be a little funny to people like us. But he can't be self-deprecating at all because he's so deeply insecure. That's why he hates Biden. That's why he hated, I'll just say the black president and had to undo everything that Obama did because a black guy is smarter than he is, cooler than he is, has so much more class than he does, is everything he always wanted to be. He always sat there and dreamt when he grew up in Queens, and by the way, a nice area of Queens, so it wasn't like, but he always dreamt of being like among the elite in Manhattan in New York. And this I can speak to as somebody from New York. He wanted to be the one who got to hang out with Bruce Springsteen, which is why he hates him so much, and Robert De Niro, and the kinds of people that love Obama and hate him for everything that he is. So, the end result has been that he punches down, and for a lot, and he can be funny when he punches down if you like that kind of humor. But like some of these people do because they feel so terrible about themselves. People like you and me it's crass. It's ridiculous. It's weak. It's pathetic that you have to make those kinds of jokes. And I can sit here and make jokes about myself. I can tell you about my high school grade in chemistry. I blew up a lab all day long. And if you have enough confidence in yourself, you can do that kind of thing. But he can't. So
none of his humor. This is why I don't say he's funny. I think he tells the jokes that he thinks are going to make people. He says the things that he thinks that the people who are in his audiences are going to laugh
He's a
at.
predator who looks around a room
He finds where that weakness is and he keeps pressing it. And he does.
He's great at knowing what people want and hope for and lying to them about getting. And I'm not saying he's funny. I'm saying he makes jokes that if you're like the folks he's talking to,
then they're funny. Right. But
what's so sad is these other guys, they can't even do that.
Going back to that point, they stumble over themselves. They can't even because I think a lot of it. You just tapped into something that we've talked about it in different ways in terms of the punching down piece. But one of the things that I think is that allows people to embrace you if you're not a bully is your ability to be somewhat self-reflective and self-deprecating, because we all at our best are when we look at each other to figure out what our shortcomings are and go, okay, that's what I got to work on.
All sorts of things. I can go on all day.
And so that's why there's no one. People can say what they want to. There's not going to be another person that has filled this void for weak A Republicans, i.e. MAGA. There won't be anybody like that for a while. Because if they were, they would be evolving now because they're too. They would not be able to stop themselves from talking about who's going to be the next person. And that's why they floated. I think they floated the idea of Trump running in 2028 because the Republican Party knows deep down inside he's not the guy. There's not going to be a guy or gal that will fill these quote unquote steps or shoes. So they're going to struggle in 2028. I know a lot of people think I'm crazy for saying that, but let's be honest.
No, I don't. You're not, because again, you have to look. Candidates matter. They really do. I could say that somebody who's been in this business. You need to look at all these factors. Can somebody emerge, that we haven't seen yet? Obama went from being a state senator to president in like 5 years. So I'm not saying it's impossible that there's somebody out there that has what Trump has. But I have not seen that person. The only person I've seen that appeals to people who's like, oh, he's not a complete jerk, is somebody that would have appealed to old-style Republicans, and that's why I think he was their guy for a while, which is John Thune, who goes and cuts your health care program and destroys your life, but still comes off like a nice guy when he does it. You know what I mean?
They've all got too much baggage.
MAGA wants you kicked in the face.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you won't do that.
And for independents and Democrats who lost their minds, I'll say it that way, but from a voting standpoint, all the Republicans have too much baggage because those that have been in Congress have voted for garbage that's hurt all of us. Cliff, we got to have you back sooner than later because I knew this was going to happen with you and me.
It's always fun talking to you, man.
It always is. It's good to hear your voice, and I'm glad you were doing well.
Thank you.
We're going to be looking at your calendar because I'm going to be reaching out to say we got to get Cliff back on sooner than later. But thanks for hanging out with us. How can folks find you and follow you before we go?
The two places I'm most active are, we've got the big Substack, it's Blue Ant Media, and the same thing on YouTube. But going through the Substack is the easiest way. So it's it's very easy. Blueamp.co. So there's no M at the end because we don't like the M. So it's just it's blueamp.co, BLUE and amp.co, and come join the community. We've got about 500,000 subscribers, which blows my mind sometimes. And, very active. David Schecter, Emmy winner, who used to be on MSNBC, is on all the time. We host shows every week, lives. We have a lot of writing we do every day, and I just wrote a column yesterday. So come check it out.
We will. All right, my man. Good to hear your voice. Stay safe, Cliff, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good to be here, buddy. Take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and when we come back, we'll be talking with Sarah Jones. We'll be right back.
Are you excited about being a new grandmother?
Of course I am. A little intimidated, too.
Why?
Taking care of a baby today is so different than when I had you.
But, Mom, you did great with me.
Thanks, son. But I put you on your stomach to sleep.
Right. But now we know that babies should always be placed on their backs to sleep for naps and at night to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
You also slept with blankets and toys in your crib.
True. But now we know to keep everything out of the crib except for my sweet baby girl. No blankets, pillows, or other soft or loose items.
Daddy's going to teach Nana all the ways to keep you safe while you sleep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
For more tips on safe sleep for babies, visit safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. That's safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming mostly sunny with high temperatures climbing into the lower 60s. Winds out of the north and northeast at 10 to 15. For tonight, mostly clear, a low of 41. Warming to the mid-70s for highs on Tuesday, a slight chance for some late-day showers. Wednesday, breezy but cooler once again, will ease back to a high of 63. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A French woman and 2 Americans have tested positive or showed symptoms of hantavirus.
Authorities announced the new cases as nations around the world repatriate passengers from a cruise ship hit by an outbreak and quarantine or isolate them. French Health Minister Stephanie List says the woman was among 5 French passengers repatriated on Sunday to Paris from the MV Hondius. One of the 17 American passengers evacuated and flown to Nebraska also tested positive for the virus, but is not showing any symptoms, and another had mild symptoms, U.S. health officials said late Sunday. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
President Trump is traveling to Beijing this week for a rescheduled summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, but China's deep economic ties to Iran, as well as trade tensions over tariff threats stretching back to Trump's first term, could complicate the meeting. In other news, the NTSB is gathering details on the Frontier Airlines evacuation after a plane hit a pedestrian in Denver.
The NTSB investigating that Frontier plane incident in Denver, where authorities say the aircraft killed a person who breached the airport fence and got onto the runway Friday night. You hear the pilot on ATC.com.
Tower Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody. We have an engine fire.
The plane en route to L.A., the pilot aborting takeoff.
There was an individual walking across the runway.
One engine on the wing, seen in pictures severely damaged, caught fire, causing smoke on the plane and an emergency evacuation.
We've got smoke in the aircraft. We're going to evacuate on the runway.
Passengers taking to social media to complain about the slow pace of that evacuation off the plane and down that inflatable slide. The NTSB looking into that as well. I'm Julie Walker.
This is AP News. AP correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on how optimistic people feel about the job market.
Optimism in the job market is falling for young Americans as older adults stay upbeat. That's a sudden reversal from just 3 years ago when older Americans were more pessimistic. In the United States until 2023, in many countries globally, young people tend to be more optimistic about the job market than old people. Gallup found that typically around the world, younger people are more likely by 10 percentage points than older people to report their local job market is good. In the United States, younger people are 21 percentage points less likely to do so than older adults. Younger American job market views are now registering closer to the level that they did in 2010 when the country was still deep in the Great Recession. I'm Haya Panjwani.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Yes, it is, guys, and welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us on this Monday, May 11th. So, with the tearing down of the voting rights legislation and protections in America, what are you going to do to stand in the void to fight this killing of our democracy? That is the question of the day. I want to know what you guys are going to do. I mean, it's not a complicated question. It may be challenging to know what your answer is or where you're planning on being and what you're planning on doing. But the fight is already on top of us. It's not coming. Remember last year I said we're not heading toward fascism or autocracy. We were already there. The minute that Donald Trump became president again, we were there. We're not heading toward a loss of democracy because of the voting rights gutting that's taken place by the Supreme Court and now state legislatures. We're already there. So what I want to know, the question is, what are you going to do to stand in the void to fight this killing of our democracy? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep fighting and bringing you what I'm bringing you every day and reminding us that this is a conversation we have to have. And you may hear me talk about this voting rights legislation and destruction for a while because it's personal to me and it should be personal to everybody in the country. I know someone that's personal too, that cares a lot about where we are and writes about things every single day. It's our good friend Sarah Jones from the PoliticusUSA and the Daily with Sarah Jones. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Richard. It is heartbreaking. This has been a tough time for anybody that has a soul, I think, and who cares about our country, who cares about human rights. You know, it's a matter of you're just going to rip the vote away from people, and the way that a lot of conservatives talk about this issue is really dehumanizing and really disgusting. And so I think that that kind of poison rhetoric is out there, and I know it impacts a lot of us, and that it's very difficult to feel positive or to feel proactive. But I liked what you said. What are you going to do about it? And I'm sure you saw AOC's right at Ebenezer Baptist Church, what she said, and I just felt like that needed to be repeated. We all need that on repeat, which is even when it looks like, we have no chance at all, we have to keep fighting and we have to keep showing up. And that's important because it actually isn't a done thing, right?
No, it's not. It's not. And I guess that's part of why, and kudos to her and to Reverend Warnock and the legacy of Dr. King at that particular church. But Reverend Senator Warnock, I should say. Listen, this is what happens oftentimes, is that something gets thrown into the water that creates this ripple. And the ripple, how I want to position this as a visual for folks that are listening, is that ripple can affect you or it may not affect you. So what do I mean by that? To Sarah's point, it's not over. Just because this has happened doesn't mean that we roll up our tent and we say, okay, well, we're going to go home. It doesn't. That's not the case here. The ripple does not have to take you under. It right. doesn't. What it means is, I believe, and hell, all my life, Sarah, my entire life, this has been a fight. This has been a fight since the day I was born. Voting. It is the thing that has been the equalizer in an unequal country with unequal footing. And I don't care what any person has to say about it, whatever your community or culture or gender is, or where you sit on any of those issues. Voting in this country has been the thing that, to me, and I'm going to say this, and you take the baton, please. To me, voting is more important in a conversation, and the right to vote, than affordability is as a political issue and as a social issue. And I'll tell you why. Because without voting, you don't have the ability to be able to have a say about the legislation that comes your way on a local, a state, or a federal level. And that includes legislation around affordability. So I think that this is the most important issue right now. It just, in a blink of an eye, became more important than affordability. To me, it also became more important than the war in Iran. Because if you just think about it, it's so simple. But this is why you said what you said earlier. It's not over. We have to fight for this now. They've taken it away from a particular group that looks like me. That's who it's targeted at. But the surrounding parts of that bullseye are the other groups that have been viewed as marginalized groups for such a long time. What are your thoughts, Sarah?
Well, right, because there's nobody that they want to take the vote away from everyone who isn't a white man. They're trying to undo the women's right to vote with the voting, the SAVE Act,
right.
So they're exactly right. They're targeting everyone. But I think the history of treating black...
And Sarah, I'm sorry, I got to add this into what you just said. And did you see to prove Sarah's point, Alex Karp with Palantir is specifically said that they want to target moderate and democratic women who most often are women who are independent and working, and in many cases, white. So sorry, but I just needed to
No, that's right. See, people don't realize that they are coming for everyone that doesn't vote their way. And no matter what way, they need to carve that out. So they'll separate everything however they need to, which is what this is, right? Because right now they're targeting the right of black people to vote in this country, the right for their vote to count, rather. And the way that, so they think that they're doing that. But I did think that Representative Clyburn, what he said yesterday was, be careful what you pray for. He said that to Republicans.
Yeah. About
because,
the gerrymander
right?
backfire.
Yeah. And I think that that's true, because the other thing is, to your point, and I think that this is a huge, for me personally, the Voting Rights Act being gutted was devastating to me emotionally. But I think what resonates with people is very different depending on their values and how aware they are of what's going on. So I think that the voting issues, that issue mobilizes people who care about democracy and understand that everyone in their life, everyone that they meet, is an equal human being to them. That is not the people on the right necessarily, and I'm not sure it's the people in the middle even. I think those people are moved by the economic argument because it's right in front of their face, and it is very visceral. So that argument that Ted Lieu made, for example, about the ACA subsidies is very powerful to get people. That is a reason to go vote. Like, if you vote and you manage to get enough Democrats in the Senate, the ACA subsidies are going to be put back.
Yeah.
Right. The expanded subsidy. That is a very clear argument that is motivating to a lot of people. When you talk about the right to vote, because it hasn't been explicitly taken away, and this is something Republicans do so well because they did this on abortion rights too. They start chipping away, but everyone will say, "Oh, you're being paranoid." It's not going in that. It's not. They would never take away your right to vote. You know, they'll just make sure your vote doesn't matter, but they're not taking away your right to vote, you see? So it isn't visceral to a lot of people. They don't, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So whatever is the most pressing issue for people, if they don't have economic security, they can't think about, and I'm not talking about people, progressive type people. I'm talking about just general Americans who are not even paying attention to politics. If you don't have enough money for groceries, you're not even thinking about the right to vote.
That's right.
It just isn't real to you. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have to hit people on a variety of different issues. But what I think is, so right now we have this looming threat, and I don't want to scare people. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but you know, we got the coronavirus under Trump, and he mismanaged that to an epic degree. It was pretty tragic. And now we have this hantavirus, which the epidemiologists keep saying it's not the same thing, but just to carve out for people what incompetence looks like, right? The Trump administration fired all of the full-time cruise ship inspectors before the hantavirus hit. That was in April 2025. That was Elon Musk's idea. Yeah. Elon Musk is out there right now he is out there saying that we need to cut Social Security and Medicare because he calls them entitlements. So it's like on every level, when these people are not
Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say to Elon every now and again, Sarah, when I hear him take this position, and then we got to grab a quick break. I want to say, okay, Elon, you give back. If you want to take away Social Security because you think it's a entitlement or a gift, then you give back the grants that you got and the tax breaks that you got to help build your company. Let's do a tit for tat on that one. You want to take those benefits away from people to help boost our economy? Then you give back the money that our federal government and state governments gave to you or provided you access to so that you could build your company. Then we can have a conversation. Until then, ST, you know what, you. We're going to take a quick break, Sarah. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Sarah Jones, and we'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
The professor of political science and women's and gender studies at Brooklyn College and the graduate center of the City University of New York and author of Sex Is As Sex Does, Governing Transgender Identity. Yeah, Paisley Curra.
When we're talking about transgender, I know it's a very big blanket umbrella statement, but when we're in this subject matter, how will we define it?
When it comes to transgender athletes, the policies basically address the people's transition in relation to hormone levels, or the policies that the sports associations are addressing. The legislation that the Republicans have passed are just about whether someone is transgender or not, and that anybody who's transgender is just automatically, in much of this legislation, barred from participating. So the sports associations are have a much more sophisticated approach in terms of looking at making sure that that the policies are as inclusive as possible and no one has an unfair advantage.
Listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice, but wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. Steady yourself. You're not alone. You've got support. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Yes, it is Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Sarah Jones from the Daily Politicus. Hey, Sarah, let me ask you this question. Let me make a statement and ask a question. This past week, and you've written about these very, very well, we've got a number of Democrats that have really been stepping to the mic and saying not on my watch, from Jim Clyburn to Ted Lieu, to Cory Booker, Ro Khanna. Talk about this consolidation of messaging and sort of sharpening and just staying on Republicans behind right now, particularly, I mean, obviously with this voting rights destruction that's taking place, but all the larger issues of the war, the economy, the Supreme Court. Talk a little bit about what you're seeing there when you've got these four legislators that are just kind of hammering Republicans right now.
They are. I mean, I wish we could have a whole, I wish the Democratic Party was full of them. And actually, that's something I wanted to talk about, because if you look at Republicans targeting targeting black districts, basically trying to water down the power of the vote of black voters, that also impacts everyone's representation. If you think about the House of Representatives, the Congressional Black Caucus is the most powerful caucus in the Democratic Party. And if you look at the impacts that caucus has had is to be fighters for things that everyone cares about, things that matter to everyday people, more than, I would say, a lot of folks. So, this kind of issue is going to impact everyone. And I wish that we had a Congress that was more like the representatives that you just mentioned. And we're just not, the Democrats as a whole, I think they're getting a lot of bad advice, right? And this whole thing about pushing to the center has absolutely...
Because the people that are winning elections, Sarah, the majority of the people that are winning during these off-year elections and during these special elections and all that, and even the primaries, are winning not because they're tacking to the middle, but they're actually either staying firm or or maybe moving to the left, but not to the left necessarily. They're just listening to what everyday folks are asking for. I'll give you a good example. In our race for Dick Durbin's Senate seat here in Illinois, we had three folks running, Congressman Ro Khanna, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. The last two held their ground on what they believe as progressives, as Democrats, true liberal Democrats, if you will, fighting for everyday folks' items and what are important. And, of course, Lieutenant Governor Stratton won that primary. But the one thing that was a turnoff, candidly, to people here in Illinois was that Ro Khanna would not establish himself truly in the fire as someone that was standing strong when it comes to Democrats and what we believe and what we need. I think on a national level right now, what's winning is the Democrats who took the strategy that Lieutenant Governor and Congresswoman Robin Kelly took, and that is to stand for that, to stand for something. And it's not moving to the, it's not moving to the right. It's okay to move more to the left, if anything. But and again, I don't want this to be a criticism of Democrats necessarily, but it's
but it's about the people. This is all about the people and getting them the representation they deserve. That's what it's about.
Yep, that's a great way of putting it, Sarah. Wow.
Let's talk about this. Has been bothering me for a while, so I'm so glad you brought this up and that we've gone here, because to me, the way the media frames this, the way that party leadership frames this, it's like, oh, you don't want to move too much to the left. You alienate people. What does it mean to move to the left? Because what it means right now, if you look at policies, and this is another thing that annoys me, is that now people are like, look at President Biden. He was pretty progressive. It's like I was telling you guys that the entire time. If you looked at his actual policies, what he was doing was progressive. And what does it mean to be progressive? What does it mean to be left? Well, right now, it isn't the way the media has framed it, and it's not what Republicans have framed it. It isn't some, wild, crazy ideas. It is about representing the people for basic things, food, gas prices, basic affordability, healthcare rights, the voting rights. These are basic rights that we should have to have our needs addressed by the people that we pay. They're not supposed to be in there representing big business. They're not supposed to be in there so that Elon Musk can get more wealth. And by the way, we're not even sure that he came here legally, that he stayed here, that he opened his company. So there's a lot of questions about him. But I would say, and this isn't about criticizing Democrats, but I do think that the frustration that I hear from the base is increasing because the Democrats are getting more and more out of touch with their base, and that is coming. It is just part of this cycle that sees across the world. And look at what just happened with Keir Starmer. In the UK, the Prime Minister, they had elections there, and the far right took all these seats. And when you look at why that happened, everyone said, oh, Keir Starmer, that's so weird because he started moving to the center. He's, allegedly from the left. He's from the Labour Party. But he started moving to the center on immigration because they thought that's what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that moving there policy-wise wasn't satisfying to people. So I want to posit this idea that the same thing applies here. It isn't about moving to the right. That's not going to get people. You know what they're looking for? Those people that the Democrats are trying to appeal to by doing that, they're not going to be happy if you start talking about the border. What they want to hear is the racism. Yeah. They want to hear the angry hatred and that kind of rhetoric that blames people and dehumanizes them. And if you're not going to give that to them, which I hope the Democrats aren't, then they're not going to find you appealing. It's never going to work. So stand up for what you really are and what makes the Democratic Party strong, which is their policies for the
appeal to people. I got to clean up on aisle 7. I meant to say Raja Krishnamurthy, not Ro Khanna, and talking about our Senate race here in Illinois. I meant to say that. I was wrong. So I'm quick mop bucket to clean that up. Raja Krishnamurthy did not stand in the way that Robin Kelly and Lieutenant Governor Stratton did for the people that they wanted to vote for them. But what the point of it again is, by them standing the way in which they did, the voters said, that's what we want. That's who we want. That's the kind of fight we want. And I want to circle back to something that you touched on a moment ago, Sarah, about the what people in the country are saying about this move, we're moving to the left. I look at it like this. How about if we just move away from Republicans? Rather than, if you're worried about moving to the left being viewed as a certain thing, change. And this gets back to what you said about sometimes the wrong people are around some of our folks in terms of who they're listening to for ideas and campaign messaging and all. Just change it and say, we're moving away from the Republicans because the Republicans are harming you.
Say what they should say is we're moving away from MAGA.
Yeah,
MAGA. If you say Republicans, like people in the center kind of want to hear that everybody's working together, so they don't really like that sometimes. But if you say MAGA, everybody's like, oh yeah, because we can all see you're moving away from the pedophile protectors. Great. You're moving away from the people that start wars for no reason to appease Netanyahu. Great. So that I think is very powerful, and it's very simple. And then it isn't insulting a large group of Americans either, which is something I noticed that no one cares that Donald Trump and Republicans do to the left every day.
And that's what makes us different. And listen, there's a lot of people out there that want to say, don't criticize or say one thing about the Democrats but I think that's living in a candy world. We have to recognize what we got to do and then go do it. And so if you can't handle the heat of us saying we have opportunities, this is what I keep trying to stress, Sarah, whoever I talk with. By looking at where we have some shortcomings, we have opportunities to get stronger and better. And that's all that we're trying to do is make our party better. And right now, saying to our candidates, listen, talk about those issues. Make those your planted flags. This is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. Sarah, guess what?
No.
No. Sarah Jones, y'all. Good to have you with us again this Monday. I'm glad you're doing well. Keep up with the great articles that you write. They are so amazing. Sarah, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Richard.
All right. Talk to you soon. Quick commercial, guys. Quick break, 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina, as well as AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with Rich Logis from Leaving MAGA. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming mostly sunny with high temperatures climbing into the lower 60s. Winds out of the north and northeast at 10 to 15. For tonight, mostly clear, a low of 41. Warming to the mid-70s for highs on Tuesday, a slight chance for some late-day showers. Wednesday, breezy but cooler once again, will ease back to a high of 63. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Take it away, Richard.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Sarah for hanging out with us a bit. You guys, when you send a text to us, don't misquote the guest, because I'm gonna call you out on that. Have the guts to call in, and whoever you are, who anybody is in the country listening, if you got something to say, pick up the phone and call. We invite people to call. We get people on hold that we'd like to get on the phone, but we're so doggone busy. But thank you for calling. Have the guts to pick up the phone and call. I'm not going to take your head off. If you say something stupid, and we will challenge you on that, but that's a different conversation. Text us, but text us with some reason. So anyhow, Leaving MAGA is an organization that Rich Logis sat back and said, you know what, maybe I'm headed down the wrong path. And I use this phrase the very first time that I talked with Rich, where I said what you created was a bridge for people who got lost for whatever reason. They chose to get lost. They weren't paying attention to the signs that said, don't go down that path, go down this one. And they went down the wrong path, and they've corrected their course correction. And I look at what Rich does from an optimistic standpoint. You can criticize all day long, but if you're not getting in the fight, then you should kind of shut up, frankly. And Rich decided to get in the fight and say, you know what, I made some decisions that weren't the best, and I got to figure out a way to work my way back. So this morning, we've got Rich with us and a special guest. But Rich, welcome back to Choose Views.
Hey, Richard, good morning. I was wondering, good to be back with you. I was wondering if you've seen some of the recent press surrounding our nationwide billboards.
No, I haven't. Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
So we've got some billboards that went up in Austin, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Des Moines. We also have some billboards that local residents paid for in Spokane, Washington, and Idaho, and we have another 18 billboards going up this month and next month, including 2 that are a few miles from Mar-a-Lago.
Really? See, that's what I'm talking about. I said this a lot last year. We've got to go in the backyards of MAGA and Republicans. In particular, I was talking about this as it relates to GOP elected officials. Got to go in their backyards and steal their thunder. Wow, near MAGA. Tell us a little bit more about the bill. What was the energy behind and the thoughts behind the billboards, Rich?
Well, we're going, Rich, into a lot of reddish purple areas, and the message of our billboards is very simple, welcoming, and inviting, and it reads, having doubts, you're not alone. And I feel like I say this every month, but it's true every month, is that we as an organization have never been busier. And as a result of these billboards, we have had a dozen people in MAGA reach out to us and say, please help me, I want to leave. So they are working. The billboards are making not only a nationwide, but a local impact as well. And, you know, we're very grateful to those who, through grassroots donations, got very excited about these billboards. And we're looking to do one in every state. You know, we've got another 18 going up this month, and by the end of the year, we want to have a board in every single state, so the map is filling up quickly.
Wow. I was just going to ask you about that. How are you getting that funded, or how is that being funded? Because billboards are not cheap, but done properly, they can be, you know, they can be managed a certain way. But wow. Did I lose? I must have lost you, Richard. Maybe I didn't lose you. So let's do this. We got to bring on our guest. Jennie, Gage, is one of those individuals who, whether they saw a billboard or not, they've made the decision to make their way down the path of correction or course correction. Jennie's from Arizona, and I want to welcome you to Choose Views. And let's find out a little bit about your background and all the rest. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Sorry, my voice. I had a cold over the weekend. So
you had a cold?
And
you're in Arizona.
I know, right? Good morning, Rich and Richard. It's so nice to be on with the two Riches this morning. We have a world to change. The red wave that Erica Kirk and TPUSA is building in my home state here terrifies me just a little bit. So we've got a lot of work to do. And Rich and I know from the inside out exactly how toxic MAGA is. So we got work to do, boys.
So let me ask you this, Jennie, and I respectfully ask this question to everyone that comes on that's part of leaving MAGA. What took you in that direction in the first place? What is it that was going on that said, okay, this is the path I'm going to go down?
Well, I was born and raised in the pipeline already. So I was born into the Mormon church, the alt-right preppers, white supremacists of the early 1970s. So I didn't have a choice. I was a kid. I was heavily indoctrinated, completely brainwashed into dark skin being a curse from God and America being God's own country. And, all of that Christian nationalism and stuff, that was, as I was learning that the sky is blue and the grass is green, I was being taught those concepts. First of all, can I just really press the fact that childhood indoctrination should be illegal. In Japan, you can't do that to your kids. You can't brainwash your kids, homeschool them, keep them isolated from outside information. But here in America, you can. You can teach your kids that stuff. So I was already in that pipeline. And as a young mom, when Donald Trump first came on the stage, I can still remember standing in my living room with the big screen TV while I was, baking my sourdough bread and helping kids with homework and stuff, living in Utah, and Donald Trump saying, I'm going to make America great again. And the things that he was talking about, fighting abortion, the murder of babies, fighting against, the most evil people in the world, gay people, being able to get married, fighting those things, that absolutely 100% resonated with me because I was in that pipeline. And I say that Donald Trump, he didn't invent MAGA. He was a genius in being able to merge all of these pipelines of hate and resistance that we already had going on in the United States. He just merged them together. And he's the first person ever who's merged Southern Baptists, evangelicals, and Mormons, and,
Catholics.
White supremacists. Yep, Catholics. He merged everybody together, and through that was able to get elected. So I was born and raised in the pipeline into that MAGA, but Donald Trump literally swept me off my feet. Richard, I can go back to 2015, and I have Facebook posts where I was talking about how much I loved Donald Trump, just daily love letters to the first man I've ever seen in my life that I truly wanted to get out and vote for. He absolutely swept me off my feet because he was speaking my language.
And that was language that you had been indoctrinated. You people are going to probably get upset with what I'm about to say, but you almost had no choice in the matter because you had been prepared, indoctrinated. You'd been groomed, if you will, to think that way and think no other way. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. Turning Point USA is run by Mormons. Tyler Boyer, he was Charlie's partner just 2 years in. And there's a reason for that, because Turning Point USA, MAGA, Donald Trump, all of these other, very similar ideologies, they just mesh perfectly with the doctrines that I had already been taught as truth from childhood.
So what is it that your children were seeing? Well, let me ask this in two points, because I really want to get to this. Mm-hmm. Let's first start with your siblings. What did your siblings see, hear, feel in relationship to what you just described that you saw, heard, and felt?
Let me speak to my dad. We were all just absolutely loving everything that he was saying. I know that some of my family members, cousins, I come from a huge Mormon family. Still to this day, they loved the anti-immigration, Trump, and that was really pushed by Tyler Boyer. Tyler Boyer, Mormon, my same religion, my same ideology. He was the chief executive officer at that point before he turned into COO of Turning Point USA. He decided that immigration was going to be Trump's big platform. He threw the very first Trump rally here in my home state in Arizona. And immigration, just having a chosen land, because America was Zion, God himself had protected and preserved and created this nation. When Donald Trump talked about how that this is God's country and it's up to us as Americans to protect it and to keep the illegals out, everyone in my family. I remember my dad talking about that obsessively. My uncles, too, they're all hard-working men. They have successful businesses. There's a lot of privilege, right? There's a lot of wealth within my community. So we were wealthy, right? So when Donald Trump, that very first rally was all on immigration here in a border state. I can see the Mexican mountains from Tucson. I think that resonated with me absolutely the most, and with the rest of my family. We were obsessed. Yes, let's keep the illegals out of God's country.
So what about how this is translated or become a part of the conversations that you have with your children?
Well, 7 years ago, Richard, I left the Mormon church one day, right? So I left MAGA backwards. Rich, he had his awakening politically. I had a spiritual awakening at age 44 as a Mormon trad wife, where I just no longer believed the Mormon church at all. So I lost that faith in the religion, then I deconstructed. For me, it was a step away from Christianity into atheism, and my political awakening actually came last, where going in 3 years ago, the pre-election stuff for Donald Trump, that was a big awakening for me, right? So I finally left MAGA, and I'm called Life Take Two on social media because I am not the person today that I was 7 years ago. And so I'm the cycle breaker. I've been able to stop that for my kids. My children now are some of the most kind, compassionate, democratic, globally hearted children. And, my kids are adults. My youngest is turning 17, so I still have one left at home. They are completely different people than anything that I ever have been. My youngest son runs a nonprofit for unhoused individuals, and he goes out on his scooter in the evenings. He's a junior in high school. He goes out on his scooter with loaves of bread and peanut butter and jelly and Gatorades for the unhoused individuals that he can reach here in our community. And he even hears the name Donald Trump and he recoils. So he's
So does he have a little scooter gang of other folks that youngsters that are like-minded that he can go out and do the work that he's doing, which, by the way, is just phenomenal?
Well, I'd say that he works with some other adults and nonprofits. A lot of kids his age, they're either just really disillusioned and apathetic towards politics because they feel powerless. They don't feel like they can step into the life that we stepped into in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where they just go to work and they can afford a nice house and stuff. So a lot of his friends, they're angry, they feel disengaged, and they're just kind of, doing their thing because they don't feel like they can make a change. But when you're my child, that's a different story. Yeah, my kids, completely different generation because I was able to step away. And there are certainly, in the ex-Mormon community, there are certainly so many people now who are not just fleeing MAGA. As Rich and I both know, people leave MAGA and they can step right back into J.D. Vance and Marjorie Taylor Greene and a different form of extremism that's still just anti-Trump. And that doesn't get us anywhere as a nation or as a society in general. I hear from people all the time who, including my own family members, who step away from everything that we were once part of and are, trying to blaze better trails for the future.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick...
Yeah. My son, he's kind of a lone wolf amongst many of his friends, so...
Yeah, I get it. Julie and Rich, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Rich Logis of Leaving MAGA and Jennie Gage. We'll be right back, guys.
WCPT replay.
Do we have another caller? Hello?
Hello there. It's Steve from the Gold Coast, Warren.
Steve Giovano. What do you know, kiddo? Hey. How are you?
There you go. Good. Warren, great guy, knows his business. From the business side of it to the mechanics. Like I said, known the guy for 20 years. We met, we were both seeing the same woman. I happen to be married to her, but hey, you can't.
What is happening? What
No. It was all clean.
Just got spilled. Hold on. I gotta get
you can't, but you can't put a price on a guy who, like Warren. I mean, she can go, but I mean,
You're hilarious, Steve.
No, I'm joking.
It's a joke.
Can we mark that as a clip for Warren's show from here on out?
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Life is full of balance, but if you are one of the millions of people affected by dizziness, vertigo, and imbalance, finding your footing isn't as easy as it seems. These conditions disrupt daily life and rob people of their independence. They are often misdiagnosed by healthcare providers, and some people are told that their symptoms are all in their head or that they are just due to stress. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Do you often feel dizzy and foggy-headed? Do you reach out for the wall to keep yourself from falling over? Do you experience a constant ringing in your ears? If you answered yes, you might have a problem with your inner ear. But there's hope. Visit liferebalanced.org or call 800-837-8428 to learn how you can get better. Again, that's 800-837-8428. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Yes, guys, we are back. This is Richard Chew, and this is Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Rich Logis of Leaving MAGA and Jennie Gage, who is also part of this great organization. Jennie, I got to ask you this question. And let me make a statement in this. It's refreshing to hear your clear-minded clarity about where you are, but also how you got there, meaning how you were programmed, all the things that you saw and you heard, and then there was a breaking point. And so one of the things that I'm curious about, and I didn't get a chance to ask this question, and it was brought to me by one of our engineers, when it comes to your kids, what did you do to help them see that what you had been believing was not the right thing or the thing that was right for you and your family, if that question makes any sense?
It does. Okay, a simple question or a simple answer that's not 3 hours long. First of all, I had a lot of professional help. I was pioneering ex-Mormon TikTok. I was one of the first people out there talking about the Mormon Church back during the pandemic. So all of a sudden I had this built-in global support network of other people reaching out to me, people who are cult experts. One that I can think of off the top of my head, her name is Knitting Cult Lady. She's former military. She's a cult expert. She's understands exactly how people get indoctrinated and how to deprogram people. So she connected. I've read her books. I have experts from around the world that just happen to be part of my program, as well as my own therapist. So I had a lot of help deconstructing. And because I was able to help myself, I was then able to help my kids. So I knew how to have those conversations. And the conversations are part two. Once I knew and understood, hey, this religious organization, this political movement that I've been part of, this isn't actually a good thing. This is toxic. It's destroying my own life and destroying the world around me. Then being able to go to my kids, my youngest was 8 at the time, as I left the Mormon church, my little guy who's out feeding the unhoused and doing all the great things that he's doing, up to, I think my oldest was 22, right? My oldest was 22 as my life take two began. Having that help myself, my own understanding, and then going to my kids and saying, hey, the Mormon church, Mommy has found out, is actually really harmful. It's not what I thought it was. Your whole entire life, 22 years, you served a Mormon mission. But as a family, I'm not doing this anymore. My minor children, I just told them I'm no longer letting you participate in the religion. We're no longer going to, go to, rallies and town halls and things for the Republican Party. Our family members that are doing that, we're not going to be part of, Thanksgiving dinner and some of those other things that they're doing, where they're reaching out to my kids.
Say that again, Jennie, because I'm telling you, we've been asking somebody to say those words. I'm sorry I cut you off. Go for it one more time.
We're no longer going to go to Thanksgiving dinner. We're not going to sit down. And for me, this has been the hardest thing. Some of my family disowned me. It was Mother's Day yesterday. My MAGA Mormon mommy has not spoken to me in 7+ years. She wrote me a letter in the mail, hey, Jennie, you're crazy. You're not part of our family anymore. But I'm no longer going to show up in the same way that I did with my family and pretend like it's okay when we're sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner and they're talking about taking away abortion rights. And my lesbian cousin with her lesbian wife is sitting at the table too. And people are talking about how evil the LGBTQ are. I can no longer sit and be complicit. And that's something that I've shared with my kids all along the way. So I had that expert help. I have a great network of other people, including Rich. Leaving MAGA, I know that I'd gone through a political transition, but I didn't know that other people really had too. I wasn't talking about Trump or politics with other ex-Mormon community, cult, people who've left cults and things like that. And when I first saw Rich, and it's like, oh my God, other people are leaving MAGA. This is a thing. Having that support for myself and then being able to have those conversations with my kids and just really raising my kids in a completely different way now. Like the conversations that we have aren't about enforcing God's word and protecting this chosen land from illegals. It's connecting with other people where they're at and having compassion. And, everybody's doing their best. Let's give respect to other human beings. I raise my kids now as a humanist from that standpoint, rather than all of the hateful stuff that I had before. So, those conversations have been huge.
Well, Jennie,
and my kids see what I do. My son helps with my platform.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Listen, I'm going to say this now. And Rich, we love having you on. I love having you on because of the last couple of sentences that Jennie just made in terms of you and I have talked about this a bunch of times, Rich, in terms of the bridge that you've created for people. And for Jennie, what's kind of exciting for me in saying this, and I know it had to be great for you, Jennie, is that there were others like you who had broken away, and maybe the family that you were about to step into was a family of people that were more like-minded, that you had broken away from your own birth family, and that wasn't the end of the world that you were doing that. This is why I said what Rich has done has been a great bridge. So Jennie, that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there had to be a little bit of that feeling there.
Absolutely. I think about that all the time, and I talk about that a lot on my channel because I have people who reach out to me through my YouTube videos, my live streams, saying, I'm totally disillusioned too, and you don't feel like you have anywhere else to go. You leave whatever it is, your religion, your community, if you've been alt-right and if you're a Trump follower and you're feeling like you don't follow Trump and everybody around you is already, they're still wearing the MAGA hat, you feel like you don't have anywhere else to go. And I think Rich has done a great job of that. I've been over here for 7 years on social media, just, crying out into the void and telling people, hey, I did this. I had my life take two. I'm a different person. As an adult, I got to choose my path forward in life. And I have a community of people. Yesterday I met a young congresswoman here. Her name's Gage. I was out hiking for Mother's Day, even though I was very sick. Like, we're going to go hiking. And she was our Democratic candidate here in Tucson, Arizona. Her name's Deja. And I just recognized her on the hiking trail. And to be able to sit there and talk with this young woman for 10 minutes about the things that she's doing for immigrants' rights, I would have, 3 years ago, I would have walked past this girl and thought, oh, there's that crazy Democrat, right? Meeting Gabby Giffords here recently, sitting down with Adelita Grijalva, who won the seat here in Tucson, and sharing that vision for America with this group of incredible people, everyone who listens to me on my YouTube channels, people like Rich, people that I meet through Rich. It's actually incredible to have these beautiful people that I'm so aligned with. They're out there. We're out there. Right. We can't always talk about it because we're surrounded by red hats. Well, Jennie, I live in Erica Kirk State, and it's time for us to all find each other.
I'm gonna say this to you as we wrap up. First of all, Rich, thanks for once again being on and having Jennie be the guest. You have been. I have this big smile on my face because of the fact that you have not only made the decision to leave, you made the decision to work hard to bring others with you and to re-engage and to connect with people. So kudos to you. I mean, you're doing something that I say oftentimes. You decided to let your privilege, white female privilege specifically, be a tool that you can use to make things better in this country. So good for you for recognizing that, Jennie.
Thanks. Rich and I both know what it's like to be alone, so I think we know, like, let's build something that people can land in. So
Absolutely. It's good to have you both on. We will definitely talk again. Jennie, thanks for being with us. Rich, as always, my man, thanks for being a leader in this space, and congratulations on the billboards. That's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. And I would encourage everyone to get to our site at leavingmaga.org and read even more of Jennie's story. We go into great depth with her at our website. And speaking of Arizona, we've got a board going up this month in Phoenix. So for those out there who are online going to hear this in Phoenix, we want you to know we're bringing our Leaving MAGA boards to your backyard.
Right on. Rich Logis, Jennie, Gage from Leaving MAGA. Thanks, guys, for being with us this morning. We're going to take a good...
Thanks.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up today. Thanks for being with us, guys. As always, of course, you're listening to Choose Views, as you have been for the last 2 hours, and we want you guys to stay engaged, just like Jennie said. What's one of the easiest ways to do that? It might be right in your own backyard. So thanks for being with us today. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And as always, take a deep breath, guys, and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
Tolerance is accepting someone before they walk through the door.
It's about accepting people for who they are as individuals.
Tolerance is celebrating the diversity that makes us great.
Tolerance. Honor the differences.
Picture a world of respect. Visit tolerance.org to learn more.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left? For a week, a month, a year. What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
My husband and I were ready to sell our home of 25 years, so we got it appraised. We thought we knew what to expect, but when our home appraisal came back, we felt robbed. Compared to a similar home right around the corner, our appraisal was $80,000 less. That's a big difference. It was the same type of home in the same neighborhood in the same condition and age.
A recent study found that Latino and Black homeowners are about twice as likely as white homeowners to get low appraisals. For example, one Black homeowner received an appraisal more than double the original after removing family photos, Black art, and books from her home. If you believe your home has been unfairly appraised because of race or national origin, that could violate the Fair Housing Act. Contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing. That's hud.gov/fair housing. Everyone has a right to fair housing. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. President Trump quickly rejected a new Iranian proposal sent to him yesterday via Pakistan. Iranian state television reported that Tehran is demanding war reparations from the U.S., full Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, an end to sanctions, and the release of its seized assets abroad. On social media, Trump said Iran's response to his latest proposal was totally unacceptable. U.S. markets are hovering near all-time highs, and oil rose more than 2% after Trump's comments. Republicans push to redraw congressional districts across several southern states, following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that weakened the Voting Rights Act, is confusing voters and creating logistical headaches for local election officials. Thousands of Louisiana voters had already cast early ballots for congressional candidates in what soon could be the wrong districts. Alabama's primaries are just a week away, but the state could force a do-over for voting on U.S. House races. And in Tennessee, a new congressional map has upended races that had been underway for months. In other news, the French health minister says the condition of a French woman with hantavirus has worsened. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
French health minister Stéphanie Rist says the French woman, among 5 French passengers repatriated Sunday to Paris from the MV Hondius, has tested positive for hantavirus, and her health worsened in the hospital overnight. Rist telling public broadcaster France Inter that the woman had developed symptoms on the flight. 2 Americans have also tested positive or show symptoms of hantavirus. 8 French passengers aboard the St. Helena Johannesburg flight have been in isolation for the past week back in France. None have tested positive. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. The Knicks completed a 4-game East second-round series sweep of the 76ers with a blowout 144-114 victory. Karl Anthony Towns totaled 17 points and 10 assists.
I've always said that the toughest game is the one that ends someone's season, and to see us taking those words serious, it's great.
Spurs star Victor Wembanyama was ejected for a flagrant 2 foul in the first half of the Timberwolves series-tying 114-109 Game 4 victory. The league worst Wizards won the lottery for this year's top overall NBA draft pick. Stanley Cup playoffs, Alex Newhook lit the lamp twice as the Canadians routed the Sabres 6-2 for a 2-1 East second-round series lead. Christopher Rayton held on for a 2-stroke victory in golf's truest championship at Quail Hollow, and Shane Van Gisbergen remains NASCAR's road course ace with a win at Watkins Glen from the pole.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, becoming mostly sunny with high temperatures climbing into the lower 60s. Winds out of the north and northeast at 10 to 15. For tonight, mostly clear, a low of 41. Warming to the mid-70s for highs on Tuesday, a slight chance for some late-day showers. Wednesday, breezy but cooler once again, will ease back to a high of 63. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar, Thursday, May 14th at 6:30 p.m. The Network for Responsible Public Policy presents a Zoom webinar and Facebook Live event, The Political Narratives That Define Us and Divide Us, featuring Leonard Steinhorn, political analyst, author, and professor of communication and history at the American University. The goal of the event isn't just to understand what defines us, but to start figuring out how we can bridge those divides and move forward together. Visit nfrpp.org to register for this free event and learn more. Thursday, May 7th from 6 to 7 p.m., join the Chicago Growth Project in planning for Chicago School Board, mayoral, and city council elections. Volunteers will help plan events, brainstorm future initiatives, create social media content, design graphics, and research candidate and policies. This free get-together will take place on the 5th floor of the Harold Washington Library Center at 400 South State Street in Chicago. That's been your WCPT Progressive Calendar.
We weren't sure adoption would happen for us, but when it did, it happened threefold.
Mary and her husband first met their 3 children when they became their foster parents. Little did they know that their house would become the siblings' forever home.
We had to help them adjust to the idea that they wouldn't have to leave. Children in foster care have lived and survived so much. We had to help them process their trauma. And now to hear our children say that they know they have a mother and father who take care of us, teach us, and love us means everything.
The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is committed to finding safe, permanent homes for the longest waiting children in foster care.
I not only love these kids, I am just so proud of them.
You can help. Visit davethomasfoundation.org.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.